One of my students acted mature for his age. Later, I found out why. I work as a fifth-grade teacher, and I once had a student named Eric who stood out for his maturity. He gave advice to his classmates with the wisdom of a father and cared for them with the warmth of a mother. One day, he helped an injured classmate by bringing him to the clinic and speaking to the nurse with concern and urgency of a worried parent. I truly liked and appreciated Eric. It was almost like having another adult by my side, but I have to admit it felt a little strange at times. Eric was always quiet, almost as if he only spoke or acted when the situation truly called for it, when things got serious. In the backyard of our classroom stood a strange tree bearing yellow fruit that looked like tiny, glistening mistletoe. The teachers made sure no student ever picked or ate the fruit, because whenever someone did, they would suddenly panic within seconds. No one knew why. One time, I saw Eric sitting alone on a swing, silently crying. When he noticed me watching, he quickly wiped his tears and walked away without a word. A few days later, another student suddenly panicked. She cried out loudly, and while the adults rushed to calm her, she flailed her arms, kicked wildly, and turned violent. "She ate the fruit?" an elderly teacher said quietly, her voice tinged with worry. During school break, I went to observe the strange tree. As I stared at it, I caught a scent that was insanely pleasant. It was the fruit. The smell was a mix of sweet chocolate and citrus. I can't quite describe it, but it was incredibly addicting. I visit the tree every time I had the chance. I just stood by its side, inhaling the sweet aroma. I became obsessed with the smell, that even my own perfume doesn't satisfy me as much. Then came the dumbest decision of my life. I wanted to taste it. One afternoon after class, I went to the tree and picked one. I chewed it carefully. It tasted bitter, but I managed to swallow it. In an instant, everything went black. After about 5 seconds, my vision returned to normal. I wondered, is that all? I went home like nothing had happened. What was all the hype about? The next morning, I received a message. "Guys, see you at Kathy's house." I wondered what it was about. When I opened the group chat, I found out that we no longer had classes. Teachers wouldn't be working for an entire month. I smiled with joy as I got dressed to meet the gang. We partied hard, singing karaoke, dancing, playing games. We went absolutely wild. Just as I was about to head home, a gorgeous woman approached me and confessed she liked me. She was Kathy's cousin. For some reason, she had taken a liking to me. And me, a single guy who's bad at flirting, said yes right away. I decided to spend my work-free days with her. I already liked her. We played video games, watched romantic movies, cooked meals side by side. I was falling in love with her. We laid in the grass one night in my backyard. We stared at the stars. "I'll be a well-known artist one day. Just watch." She whispered, "What would be your stage name?" I asked, "Haven't thought of it. How about Starry Day?" She looked at me. I turned to her and smiled. "That's good, but sounds too simple to me, though. How about—" She suddenly kissed me and chuckled. I kissed her back, and she hugged me as we lay there. I smiled looking at the starry night. Few days later, we cooked the recipe we saw in a social media post for fun. "It needs more ketchup," she said as I stirred the stew. But the moment I reached for the bottle, everything went black. Seconds later, I was back by the tree, exactly where I had been before. I was still in my teacher's uniform. Teachers were chatting. Children were running to their parents. The sun was hot, and I smelled like sweat. I walked slowly to my car. Once inside, I just sat there, trying to process it all. My mind was foggy, aching with confusion, fear, and pain. As I started the engine and drove away, tears quietly rolled down my face. People began to show concern for me. I grew quiet, ate less, and rarely did any of the things I used to enjoy. I always went to bed early. I never told anyone, but I often went to the bathroom just to cry. When I taught my class, I no longer had the same enthusiasm. Even my students started to show concern. But because of the heaviness I was carrying, I hadn't noticed that Eric had been absent for quite some time. When I went to bed, I couldn't stop thinking about that kid. I remembered assigning them a written task about anything that felt like a burden to them, but I had forgotten to read their work. Without a second thought, I read Eric's work first. Dear Sir, I want to confess that back in 4th grade, I was one of the students who ate that strange fruit. In my hallucination, I actually grew up. I made friends, faced struggles, completed my studies, and eventually found a job. My heart was beating fast. I continued reading. And then I became an adult and started a family. I was so happy with my wife, our children, our pet. What came next sent chills down my spine. Our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our great-great. My body froze. I was shaking, and I covered my mouth in shock. I couldn't sleep for many nights. No one knew where Eric had gone, not even his parents. They searched everywhere, but he was nowhere to be found. My body still shivers just thinking about that strange fruit. They cut down some trees in the schoolyard, and it seems they cut that one too. If that was the first tree of its kind, I pray it will also be the last.